very much, and thank you for inviting us to present today. We're very flattered that you want to hear what we have to say, if not a little bit intimidated, seeing as you stuck us between Oxfordshire and Cambridgeshire, two counties that have been involved in sustainable drainage for a long time. By way of an introduction, I'd just like to go through, from a drainage point of view, we are the lead local flood authority for the county of Leicestershire. That's excluding the city of Leicester, of course, who are a unitary authority at the centre of the county. We're an upper tier authority with 7 different districts and boroughs within the county. They're the local planning authorities, all of which have their own different ideas and needs. We're a landlocked county, and we're on a watershed for 3 catchment areas. We're at the top of the hill. So it does mean that we have to consider 3 different river basin management plans, Humber, Severn and Anglian. And we're now in the EA area for Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire and Derbyshire. But from a practical point of view, we still have to consider the comments from 3 offices of the Environment Agency. We have 1 internal drainage board in a small area in the north of the county. Soil-wise, the county is dominated by heavy clay soils, which make infiltration a challenge. This fact may seem rather strange to you later, as a few of the examples that I'm going to show are in fact infiltration sites, but they're all within a similar area on the Soar Valley. Since the Flood and Water Management Act came into being, we have been aware of the SuDS elements of the Act. Along with other authorities and the EA, we have been trying to introduce sustainable drainage techniques into new development proposals in the county. We have adopted soakaways for highway surface water where we could. We've looked at permeable paving. This included a length of footway in Birstall, near the city, as part of a larger development, and a permeable paved carriageway in Loughborough as part of the overall Loughborough Eastern Gateway project. That's near the train station in Loughborough. During this interim period, while we're all waiting for the implementation of Schedule 3, we found ourselves being asked to adopt attenuation basins or ponds at the end of a conventional pipe system, the classic pond at the bottom of the hill situation. The main water authority in our area is not willing to adopt the sustainable feature, and they've been up to now insisting that a public body adopt the pond or basin. In early 2013, we set up a project to look into the procedures, processes and resource requirements for implementing the SuDS approval body or SAB. While a large amount of work has been undertaken on various work streams, we are finding ourselves waiting more and more on details from DEFRA. Rather refreshingly, we have found that a number of local developers have approached us and are positively keen to introduce sustainable drainage as part of their developments. Granted, there have been more and more conditions attached to development by the LPAs and their statutory consultees for drainage, chiefly the Environment Agency, emphasising sustainable drainage. Mainly around water quality, we think, but they have been asking for sustainable drainage. We're having now pre-planning meetings with developers, their consultants, the planning authorities, and in some cases the Environment Agency. I'm encouraged that in this post-pit review era, we are at least speaking to each other. We are learning lessons all the time, and this is leading to more integrated designs, the multifunctional use of open space and shared objectives. Right, I'm now going to run through some examples of sites where we have either adopted or will be adopting sustainable drainage within the county. I'll be presenting them in an order that I hope will demonstrate the different approaches to their adoption. The first one, this is Peter McCaig Way. I don't know who he was, he must be a local dignitary or something. It's in Quorn in Leicestershire, and underneath that public open space there, which is maintained by the local parish, that there is a soakaway for highway drainage. All the private plot drainage goes to soakaways in the back gardens, and we've now actually adopted that soakaway as highway drainage, and that agreement came into being in March 2009. And if I know our maintenance guys, it's not been looked at since. The next site that I want to show you is Thomas Cook Place in Loughborough, and this was for William Davis. It's a site that is permeable paving to infiltration, and it's in the carriageway. So we've adopted, or will be adopting, that carriageway. It's a provisional certificate has been issued, and it's been placed on a 3 years maintenance period, and that happened in September 2012. The development was on behalf of Nottingham Community Housing Association. Now, it was built by William Davis for the Housing Association, and housing associations tend to want to promote sustainable everything, basically. They work to higher codes on the code for sustainable homes, and so all the plot drainage goes into back gardens or under parking court. Here's the site plan. The purple areas are the permeable paving. The brown areas are conventional block paving, so they're like service margins that are through, and then the grey areas are bituminous surface that are there. Here's some pictures of it under construction, and that's what it looks like going down, and what it looks like completed. The next site, Netherall Drive and Fennycopse Lane in Quorn. This now is a site where there's swales and infiltration basin swale type thing, but it's for highway drainage only. The swales feed round the development, and there's a swale as a means of conveyance for the highway water going down, so we're adopting that as part of the section 38, and you can see that the swale that's adjacent to the public open space, which is on the right of that picture as you look at it. Here you can see a highway drain inlet into a swale or infiltration feature, and there you can see that's the natural ground there. It's sands and gravels. It's amazing for infiltration, about the only place that it works in Leicestershire. And the last photograph is just public open space or copse area, which shows it. The next one that I want to share with you is Grangewood Manor, Beggars Lane, Leicester Forest East. This was a site where we got involved in pre-planning discussions that took place early on in the life of the development, with the developer, Taylor Wimpey, East Midlands, and JPP Consulting and ourselves. And it was an example of how teamwork can work effectively, and we were able to sort of move through things and get things in place just by working together. The private plot drainage from this development goes to the adopted swales. There's an example there. The main attenuation is a large lagoon or detention basin at the bottom of the site. I'll show you pictures of that now. And the pass forward flow, I just wanted to put that, it was 15 litres a second into the ditch or watercourse at the bottom of the site. Here we've got some pictures of Road 4 under construction. This is a permeable paved road. The first picture is to show the construction of the road, but also shows the field where the detention basin was soon to be constructed. As part of the project, we've got the developer to agree to a trial of different methods of laying the bituminous protection layer on top of the permeable subbase. To date, this is the only permeable road on the site that's been constructed, and the agreed method here is to hand lay the bituminous material in 2 layers. The contractor was concerned about the permeable subbase moving underneath the paving machine, and so we come up with a trial of different methods of how to lay that. Now Gordon's going to shout at me because here we're constructing some very deep swales. They're under-drained swales. One of the problems we came across was how to cross the swale under the roads, and that and our requirements around the private plot drainage connected into the system led to rather deeper swales than some would have liked. This came about in the early days, and it's a valuable lesson that we've learned. This is the detention basin under construction. You can see there was some big kit on site digging a big hole, basically. I'll show you pictures of what it looks like through various phases. The top one is the detention basin in April this year, and the bottom one is the detention basin as it appears now. I went out and took the photograph for the presentation today, and that's what it looks like. Nature's a wonderful thing. And the last photograph I thought I'd show you, the farmer had let some sheep loose on the detention basin area. There was no PPE in sight at all, and I don't know if that is the maintenance regime, but the grass was still quite long. They weren't doing their job. Right. Those were a few examples of sites where we're adopting or will be adopting sustainable drainage. And what I was going to touch upon is the method by which we are doing that adoption at the moment is through the Section 38 agreement. And at the moment, that's how we're doing it, but we're charging the developers commuted sums for the various features to cover for their future maintenance. And the developers are willing to pay these commuted sums. We've based our calculations on the commuted sum calculator that we use for other highway elements of the 38 agreement, and maintenance figures that we found in the beautifully written and presented Cambridge City SuDS guide. We took those maintenance figures and as an example of what it would cost, and we've applied that. We're reluctant to spend too much time working up a system to calculate commuted sums, as current thinking is that that will not be the method of raising maintenance revenue once the Schedule 3 is finally implemented. Maintenance of our wonderful sustainable drainage features is to be entrusted to our Leicestershire Highways operations team. Currently, what I'd like to say is that the maintenance of sustainable drainage is one of the work streams in the SAB project board that's not been completed yet, and it's being held up by, in a way, by reorganisation elsewhere within the department. So that's a work stream still to be worked through. But currently we have highway drainage gangs, and then there's an external subcontractor who does the verge maintenance. But as I see it, there'll be a need for training for operatives in several disciplines: in drainage, in landscaping, entry into confined spaces, that's if they've got to go and inspect flow control chambers and the like. There will be a need for a multidisciplined approach as well. I mean, it would be a shame for several gangs to have to pitch up and maintain one site. So there'll need to be multidisciplined and able to carry out all the maintenance for sustainable drainage within the one site. Long term, this is just my view, I feel there'd be a need for a dedicated team, a whole new drainage section with officers in post in order to monitor that maintenance and everything. A few of the older delegates here will feel we've come full circle here, back to the days when local authorities used to look after the drainage. What I thought as well, there'll be opportunities for partnership working with the likes of the districts and parishes, the people who maintain the public open space, and even maintenance companies, as Gordon touched upon, that look after the public open space adjacent to those SuDS features. Have I gone too quick, fella? You haven't waved the sign at me yet. I'd just like to say in summary that sustainable drainage is the responsible and moral way to deal with surface water from new developments. We should all be looking for opportunities to introduce sustainable drainage and consider retrofitting SuDS as part of every highway scheme, or every scheme. The important thing is teamwork between the developer, designer, the local planning authorities and the water authority. And then the last thing I've got here is I'd just like to share with you, while we in this country are still talking, arguing or discussing how to introduce sustainable drainage, the rest of the world has moved on. Sustainable drainage is nothing new. My second job as a young technician was with Bulawayo City Council in Zimbabwe in the mid-1980s. I can remember there being an estate of houses that got flooded from a nearby watercourse during heavy rainfall events in southern Africa during the rainy season, quite a regular occurrence. We constructed what was called then a dry pond in an open space or flay upstream of the estate. It was an earth embankment or wall with a 150mm diameter pipe outlet, and there was a spillway overflow too. The flooding problem was solved using what we now refer to as a detention basin, and that was in the mid-80s. in deepest, darkest Africa. And the last thing I wanted to say was, don't be afraid to give it a go.